Hello, gamers. Hope you all are having a wonderful day. I'm having a good one because I'm wearing my second favorite shirt today. And this is going to be a brief instructional video on how to play Dungeons and Dragons. First of all, I'm going to show you, this is through my D&D Beyond character. This is a great website to make creating a character very easy. It does all the writing for you. As you can see, there's all this information here. You usually have to write all that down, but the website does it for you and makes it very simple to finalize a character and get to playing the game as quick as possible. But first of all, once you get to this screen, I'm going to direct your attention to up here at the top. We've got our character's name, Flint Frostbeard. This is a character I've made for an upcoming campaign I'm playing in. It says his race and his class and his level, just some basic rudimentary information about him. But if we're going to look further into what type of person he is, what his statistics are, we've got these 6 boxes here. We've got our strength, our dexterity, our constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And these are the 6 statistics that help define your character. When looking, we've got these bigger numbers and then the smaller numbers with plus or minuses. I've got all pluses here. But these bottom numbers would be what your statistic is. I've got 15 in strength and then 10 in dexterity. And the bigger number is what we call the modifier. You convert this big number into the modifier. If you have a 10 in a stat like this, 10 in dexterity, that is considered average. You know, like the average person's going to have 10 dexterity. And so that gives you a +0 to any sort of dexterity skill, which we'll get into soon. And every even number is an additional +1 or -1. So when we're looking here, 10 and 11 are both +0, but a 12 and a 13 are going to be a +1. A 14 and a 15 are going to be a +2, as you can see. And over here we've got a 16 and a 17 is going to be +3. 18 and 19 is +4. 20 and 21 is +5, and so on. Very rarely you'll see a statistic above 20. But this also goes the other way. If you have an 8 or a 9, that's going to be a -1 to a statistic. If you have a 6 or a 7, that's going to be a -2 to that statistic. That's usually not good, but it can lead to a fun scenario in the game you're playing by having a character who's maybe very dumb and they can't read very well, with a low intelligence score. These statistics can be randomly generated or chosen from a predetermined set. These ones I have were randomly generated. If you choose the predetermined set, it's 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. So you will always have a good stat and a bad stat. So I got pretty lucky here by not getting any below 10. Moving on to how these modifiers affect the way your character is visualized, or perhaps the way that you can see the things that they are good at. So when I'm looking at my charisma modifier, it's a +3. So I can move to my skills down here and examine which one has a charisma modifier. So my deception skill has a +3 bonus because it's a charisma modifier. So it's just taking this +3 and putting it straight to that deception. When you're looking at athletics, this is a strength modifier. So because I have a +2 in strength, I have a +2 in athletics. And this is the same thing with our saving throws. +2 strength, so I have a +2 strength saving throw. Same thing with constitution. And if you see, you can notice that there's some of these little dots are filled in, and that is marked as your Proficiency. This is something to make your character more effective at certain skills of your choosing. So you can see here, I've chosen that my character is proficient in acrobatics. So despite having a +0 modifier, we're going to take our, because I am proficient, we're going to take our +2 proficiency bonus and place that in our bonus modifier to any sort of acrobatics skill check I have to do. So we're going to take that 0 +2, and now I have a +2. You can see it again here in my intimidation skill. I have a +3 in charisma, and because intimidation is a charisma skill, I get +3, and I'm proficient, another +2, so I have a +5 to any sort of intimidation skill check. Now, what does this mean? This means when you are playing in Dungeons & Dragons, there are sort of two phases of gameplay. You have the role play, where you are acting as your character, and then you have the combat. A lot of these skills apply in the role play scenario. You can use them in combat as well, but in a situation where I'd be trying to make an intimidation check, you see D&D Beyond is great. They tell you exactly a situation. One of them is convincing street thugs to back down from a confrontation. So if I were to try to intimidate some street thugs and say, "Oi, get off my back," or something of that nature, my dungeon master could tell me to make an intimidation check. And what I will do is I will take a 20-sided die, and I'm going to go ahead and roll that. And depending on what I get, a 5, that's not great considering there are 20 options, and that's on the lower quarter. I'd take that 5 and add my bonus to it. So 5 + 5, I get a 10 to my intimidation check. D&D Beyond is great. They actually let you use, if you hover over here, you can see it highlights, and if I just click right here, it'll go ahead and roll that d20 for me here and add my modifier bonus to it as well. So in D&D Beyond, I got a 17 + 5, so I have a 22 intimidation check. And in terms of whether that is a success or a failure, that is up to the dungeon master to decide. A 22 is really good, as you can, anytime you roll above the amount, or your check is above the amount on the 20-sided die, you're very likely to succeed. If you want to know the specifics, a 5 is an easy difficulty check, a DC. A 10 DC is medium. A 15 DC is very hard, or just hard. A 20 is very hard. 25 is exceedingly difficult, and a 30 is nearly impossible. So if you are trying to do something that your dungeon master deems nearly impossible, you may have to roll above a 30 to do. Looking at my character, I know that that is actually impossible. I can only get up to a 25 check if I roll a perfect 20 and get my 5 bonus to that check. But that is very rare. Usually you don't attempt nearly impossible activities. But something to consider is perhaps I wasn't proficient in intimidation. Maybe that wasn't my best stat. As Dungeons & Dragons is a role-playing game, you can approach the situation in any sort of way. Maybe if these thugs are trying to approach you, you can try to lie and say, "Oh, we're actually poor homeless folk and we have no money. There's no point in robbing us." And your dungeon master would say, "Go ahead and make a deception check." Or maybe you want to teach them of the error of their ways and try to negotiate a peace, and you could make a persuasion check. It all depends on how you approach the situation, and as long as it makes sense, your dungeon master usually is going to be pretty kind about what needs to be done and how to complete it. A few skills that are very useful, athletics and acrobatics. Anytime you're really trying to climb up on a roof or leap a gorge, try to swim upstream, maybe you're going to have to make an athletics check to do something incredibly physical. Or if you're trying to do stunts, sometimes staying afoot in difficult terrain, walking across a tightrope, is going to be an acrobatics check. One that's used a lot is perception. This one is your perception check lets you spot, hear, or otherwise detect the presence of something. So this could mean maybe there is a monster moving stealthily in the forest. Having a good perception would make you more likely to spot that and less likely to be surprised by something. Other things to look at are the saving throws. These are skills that are directly affecting you. There are some spells that are going to, maybe they're going to try to charm you and mind control you. In those situations, a lot of times you're going to be making a charisma saving throw. And because I'm proficient in that, I once again have a very high chance of succeeding those throws. Whereas if a boulder is coming down a hill and I have to leap out of the way, this character here, Flint, is not very good at that. So maybe if I had to make a DC 15, a hard saving throw, to react to a trap of some sort, I would go ahead and roll my die and see if I succeed. So let's see if I can get above my 15 here. We've rolled the die, and I have failed. I have gotten a 7. So I would, Flint would get hit by this trap or rolled over by this boulder, and that is where the dice come into play and how to interact with your skills and saving throws. Okay, so I have explained a lot of the role-playing aspects, and we've explained the saving throws and the skills. I have swapped over to another character. Her name is Tia. She's a human, and she's a sorcerer, so she casts spells. But I wanted to talk about how to interact in combat. When you're in combat, you are going to roll your initiative. So this is going to be just your dexterity modifier. So we can roll our initiative. So we got a 13, 12 plus 1. So we'll be probably in the middle of the turn order. Maybe there's a few monsters that go before us, or maybe our teammates get to go as well. But when it comes around to our turn, we have a lot of options to approach this. We have our weapons. So this character, Tia, she has a dagger. So she could run up to somebody, or even as the notes here, she could throw this dagger, but she can attack with this hit dice. And once again, D&D Beyond provides us with this sort of information. But if you want to know, this is going to be, as a dagger is a finesse-based weapon, it's going to be using our dexterity. So that'll be +1, and because this character is proficient in daggers, she gets her +2 proficiency bonus as well. So we have a +3 to hit. So we are going to try to take a swing. That's pretty good. That's going to be a 21 to hit. That's very likely to hit pretty much any character around this level 4. But to determine whether it hits or not, I'm going to show you this armor class. As a sorcerer, sorcerers obviously, if you think about any sort of fantasy scenario, you don't really see sorcerers in that much armor, and so her armor class is pretty low. It's going to be 10 plus the dexterity modifier. So we have 10 as the base armor class plus 1. And I think that's sort of considered somebody who's dexterous is probably better at dodging than somebody who isn't. So that's sort of partly why this armor class is this way. So if we rolled this 21, we would definitely hit somebody who only has an armor class of 11. When you're considering whether it hits or not, the easy phrase to remember is, if it meets, it beats. So if I rolled an 11 to hit, it met the number, and so it beats and it hits. So when we land our damage, we're going to roll our damage dice. So this is where we've actually got many other options. We've got our, let me get these out of here. We've got a 4-sided die, our 6-sided die, your Yahtzee dice, an 8-sided, a 10-sided, and a 12. When we're looking at Tia's weapon, this dagger, a dagger is really small and doesn't deal that much damage, so it's just going to be a 4-sided die. So we'll roll here. We rolled pretty well. That's 5 damage, and we're adding our dexterity bonus to that as well. You can see when we're looking at this quarterstaff, it's not labeled as a finesse-based weapon, so that means we're going to be using our strength to attack. Now, despite being proficient in quarterstaffs, Tia has a -1 to strength. So we will be at a -1 to hit, plus our proficiency +2. -1 + 2 is a +1 to hit. So we're less likely to hit with this weapon. When we roll the hit, we still manage to hit an 11 armor class. We're going to roll our damage, but because it's a strength-based weapon, we're at a -1. So we've got our d6, a 4 -1, a 3 to hit, which is not that great, but when you're playing the sorcerer, it's unlikely you're trying to bash somebody's head in with your quarterstaff. What you're going to be looking to do instead is cast some spells. Here we have a full list of spells, and I love, I can't say it enough, I love D&D Beyond. They just put it all here, make it really easy. Maybe we want to cast a firebolt. We've got our sorcerer spell attack to hit. Sorcerers use charisma, just like our skills and saving throws. We're going to take this modifier and apply it to our spells to attack. So we've got a 5, and because we're proficient in spells, we have a +7 to hit. So that's what this +7 is here. We rolled a 9, pretty low number, but despite that, we have a +7 to hit, so we're going to hit somebody with an 11 armor class up to 16 as well. And here, we roll our d10. So this is going to be your 10-sided die. The 4, we got 4 damage on that. If you were to roll this 0, that's sort of hidden off here to the side, that's your 10. It's not a 0. You don't hit for 0 damage. You either hit for 1, you hit for 1 through 10. And then here even, this poison spray, we've got, that's a 12-sided die. So these are cantrips that we're casting, very low-level spells. The spells go from 0, which is a cantrip, all the way up to 9. So you got to be a really powerful spellcaster, though, to cast level 9 spells. At level 4, as a sorcerer, this character can cast 2nd level spells. So we've got Fog Cloud, which we can click here and examine a bit more. It creates a 20-foot radius sphere of fog. We have Sleep, which is going to put creatures into a magical slumber. And we can cast these in combat on our turn, and these are more likely to deal some more damage. Like Ice Knife, this one, you chuck a knife, and whenever it hits somebody, the shard then explodes. Actually, I'm sorry, whether you hit or miss, the shard then explodes, and each creature within 5 feet could take up to 2d6 damage. So we're gonna say we hit or miss, we roll our damage, so they take 6 piercing damage, it says, and they even supply us with some extra. And because the Ice Knife explodes, we can add 2 and roll our 2d6s to get 6 + 7 damage on that Ice Knife spell. When we do that, as a first level spell, we only have so many of those. This is the way to limit how many spells you can cast. If you're slinging the most powerful world-changing spells every single second you get the chance, it seems a little unrealistic. So we can press this button here and cast the spell, and it uses up one of our 4 spell slots that we have at this level. All the races or all the classes have different numbers of spell slots. Sorcerers and wizards have some of the most. So we're going to we can cast up to 4 of those, And then, as you see, they grayed out. We're done. We have no more first level spells to cast. However, we also have second level spells. So we can empower this Ice Knife spell and cast it at a second level, which will grant it more damage, as you can see here. At higher levels, when you cast the spell using a spell slot of second level or higher, the cold damage increases. So there are some spells. We can go ahead and view manage our spells and look for some stronger second level spells out here. You've got, enlarge and reduce. This one doesn't deal any damage, but it can be useful for making somebody, maybe you've got a big barbarian on your team. Enlarge him, make him way bigger and way stronger. That could be incredibly useful. We've got this great one that I know of, Scorching Ray, which lets you shoot 3 rays of fire. So you can attack the same person 3 times, roll all 3 of these different hit dice. Maybe we can just do 1, 2, 3, see if they hit. Whoa! And we hit a few of them, but not all of them. And then we can just roll our damage for that there. And that'll be spells and attack like weapons. And those are ways to deal some damage. You also have lots of different ways to interact in combat. They provide them here, and you can read them real quick. A dash lets you move further. A disengage lets you get away without somebody slashing at you. Dodge makes it easier to dodge. You can even grapple somebody, leap onto them and pin them to the ground. Help a teammate, hide away. Improvise, they provide. Your character can do things not covered by the actions. You're not limited to this here. You can say, hey, I want to leap to the chandelier and swing off it and plummet down onto the monster in front of me. And like they say here, when you do an action not detailed here, the DM tells you whether that action is possible and what you need to roll to make. So let's consider this leaping to the chandelier, swinging off, and slicing down on somebody. Because they're too far away for us to run with our 30 feet, maybe we want to try to get creative, which a lot of dungeon masters do enjoy. So we've got our acrobatics check. So they'll say, do an acrobatics check to leap off the chandelier. So maybe you try that. We probably don't succeed with that, and maybe we fumble and land hard and miss our opportunity to attack because we're too far away. And that's just ways to play in combat. And I believe that is everything. We also have we've got some options here of your equipment, for whether you have a dagger or not. If we look at my character here, Flint, he has a lot higher armor class. This is because he's wearing chainmail. As a paladin, he's more geared towards being on the front line and being a tank character. So he's going to have chainmail with 16 base armor class. Now, we have 16 armor class. Why does it say 18 up here? He also has a shield equip, which means we've got +2 AC to our 16 already. So now people need to roll an 18 to deal damage to Flint Frostbeard, which is going to be pretty difficult. Same thing, because I'm making a strength-based character, a character who doesn't have that many spells. Currently, I actually have no options. Here we've got Tia. She has actions, spells. Flint, I've got only actions, no spells right now. But I've geared him more towards hitting enemies. My flail here, it's not finesse, so it's going to just deal my strength, which is +2. Because I'm proficient in this type of weapon, I take my proficiency bonus, +4 to hit, and when I deal damage, I'm going to be rolling my 8-sided die and adding my strength to that, 9 damage. So that'd be pretty useful for hitting somebody. We've got a lot of notes here that provide you more information about what types of weapons are what. Martial weapons are more difficult to handle. Simple are easy. You're looking here, we've got a dagger is simple, a quarterstaff is simple. However, a large warhammer, that's going to be martial, more difficult to use. and they even provide, when we've got our javelin, that's thrown. It tells you the range of how far you can throw it. We've also got this word here, versatile. You can see here we've got two options. I can, if I want, put my shield away. Say I put my shield away, and versatile means that I can put my one-handed weapon in both my hands and deal more damage that way. So it'll be a D10 instead of a D8. So that can be useful in combat. Once you're done with combat, we've got up here you can deal your damage. You can also take damage. I can take 6 damage here, and they'll track that on this website. And I can perform a short or a long rest. If I were to, a long rest is a full 8 hours of sleep, or 6 hours of sleep and 2 hours of downtime. So pretty much 8 hours of time set aside doing nothing. A short rest could be an hour, or at least 1 hour, where you're doing nothing more strenuous than eating, drinking, reading, and tending to wounds. And what we can do here is roll. If we want to just take a short break, I've got a big cut on my arm, so I'm going to try to patch that up. So guys, I'm going to ask my friends, hey, can we take a short rest? And if they agree, we'll pull over to the side. I have what they call hit die. As a paladin, it's a D10, so that 10-sided die. Looking at this sorcerer, it's only a D6. So sorcerers are going to have a lot less health regeneration and health in general than my paladin character. So we will mark that we've taken our short rest. We've used our 1 hit die because we're level 1. We only get 1. I'm going to take my short rest. We can confirm that. I'm going to go to my 10-sided die, roll that. I got a 7 because I have +2 to my constitution. Like they say here, I will do 7 + 2, and I can heal 9 damage. Back up to full. All right, guys, I'm feeling much better. Let's go into this fight, or continue our adventure. There are also additional ways to get advantages. There are advantages and disadvantages that will let you, if you're trying to attack somebody who's pinned on the ground, who's prone, you can get an advantage. So instead of rolling 1, you will roll 2, and now you have an advantage on your attack, and rolling 2 dice makes you so much more likely, oh shoot, he's got an 18 armor class, that didn't hit him, let's give it another try. Ooh, really didn't get him that time. But say it were the other way around, I rolled this 1 first, and then changed it to that 16 later. Getting advantage can make things a lot easier. You also could be in an unfortunate situation where you are prone. Maybe you've fallen over and you can't get up. You need life alert. You're at a disadvantage. You roll 2 dice, and you will actually take the lesser number of the 2. So maybe maybe Flint here is trying to hit Tia, so we're going to try to beat that 11 armor class. Roll our 2 dice. Clear that out so we can see. I've got a 7 and a 9. So I would have hit because it was this 7 + 4. 11 was my lower. The 9 + 4 would be that 13. So I would hit either way, but like I'm saying, taking the lower number could leave you in that disadvantage, and you will miss. I believe that is pretty much everything I want to talk about here in this video. I know it was a lot, but you don't need to have this all memorized. One of the best ways to learn is just playing the game. Have those people around you help explain how to play. It's easiest when you're talking with your DM. You want to do this, you want to do that. They'll talk to you how to do it, and what is maybe the best way to approach that situation. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all a great adventure. Bye.